Hey people, welcome to React Play Open Mic, and we are the episode number 4. And today we are going to hear a lot of great talk. I'm expecting all the speakers to kind of come on and then deliver their talk. With me, I have Pritesh. Hey Pritesh, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, hi Tapas, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Yeah, excited for the night. There are some good speaker in line tonight. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not doing so great. I have cold and fever, but it's okay. This session is very important and it's very exciting, right? So
Yeah,
I may not stay till the end, but Pritesh will be doing the job and he will be kind of taking us through the entire session. And as the agenda goes, we'll hear a little bit about React Play from Pritesh, like what it is, what we do, and then straight away we go to our first speaker, and then the subsequent speakers will come in. As always, I always encourage people who are listening to us right now to ask questions. Keep this session interactive on chat. No question is silly question. And at the same time, when you are listening, our speaker, delivering content, be assured that they are actually encouraging and influencing you to speak in the next session. So we'll also be sharing the link, like how you can apply for speaking on open mic. And the whole motto of open mic is to encourage developer community to speak on camera. And if you don't want to switch on your camera but still want to speak, you're still welcome. You need to start speaking. You need to start speaking publicly. That's the whole motto. So without any further delay, I'll hand over to Pritesh. Pritesh, why don't you just give our folks a bit about React Play, like what do we do, what's our plan, what is this open mic about, a little bit touch base, and then you can bring your first speaker of the night.
sure thing. What I'll do is I'll share my screen and show the React Play website. It will be more clear,
Cool,
right?
cool.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. So, I hope my screen is visible, right, Tapas? All right. So yeah, let's talk about React Play. So React Play, as you can see, read here, like we are an open source community for React.js developers where they can share and learn about React Play. They can create React Play projects. Here, if you see, we have some trending plays here. So here, for like we have another name for projects, we call it Play. Okay, so you can see a good number of people submitting that plays. Even if you want to contribute to the platform itself, you feel free to do that. It is an open source project. We do have a documentation, we do have a lot of other things. All you need to do is you just need to click on this particular icon and it will take you to the GitHub repo of React Play. Find some good issues. If you have to click on issues, if you are new or if you want to file any new issue. Okay, we also have a tags. If you want to create a play, you just need to create a issue with a play request, and then you just need to go ahead with that. If you are someone who are new to the open source, you can pick up the good first issues and go ahead with doing your first open source React contribution. If you are someone who just started with the open source contribution, everyone knows what is the importance of open source contributions and stuff, so I won't be talking about that. And plus I want to share, like, this is our social. Here is where we share our uh, everything related to what we do. Like we give shout outs to, if you see, we share about our events. We give shout outs to the people who have done good work. And we also talk about our other events, online offline both. And whenever we have events like hackathon or blogathon, we share it here. So if you are new to React Play and you're hearing this for the first time, you can go ahead and follow us on our socials. We are on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, final thing, you need to join our Discord community. You go at the footer. If you go at the footer, you'll find the link. I will put it here. If you want to contribute, you can put this link over here. You create a issue and make this happen for us. Just put it here somewhere, so it is easy for us to go ahead and click there. So just click on Discord and it will take you to our community. And yeah, this is where you can interact with some like-minded front end and back end and some good software engineers if you want to explore and increase your network to next level. So yeah, this is what React Play is in a nutshell. Yeah.
Cool. I think that's summarized very well. So then, what we can do next is like we are going to bring our first speaker of the night. I'm sure that Vanshika will be ready. Like Pritesh, we can actually pull her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Should I add her? Yeah.
yeah. Let's add her. Let's let her introduce and let us get started. And
Okay, let me just stop sharing.
yeah,
Yeah.
hi.
Avanchika.
Yeah, I think you're on mute. You need to. Yeah.
Yeah, hello, hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing absolutely great. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views. So, thank you so much. Uh, just let
Good,
me
good.
share my screen.
Sure, sure. Go ahead. I'm sure, like you probably will be introduce yourself along with the talk that you're going to give, because our audience would like to know about you, your background, and of course the topic that you're going to talk about today.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Thank you so much. So, let me share my screen and so hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So, first, let me introduce myself. This is Vonishika Dhar, and by qualification, I'm an electronics and communication engineer. So, my journey till now has been like career path has been quite diverse because, like in my college days, I was into direct selling industry, and after that, that led me to choose a career path of marketing and management. So I had been into marketing and management for quite a long time, worked as a BDM for several startups, and then I decided to came into technology. So yeah, so today I'm sitting over here like as a front end developer, and I'm working with a mystery shopping company of India as a front end developer right now. So before I start my talk, I want to clear something out that today I'm not going to teach anything, any technical stuff, because I think people are already doing this. Today I'm going to share something which I feel is equally important and it should be addressed. And that is like during this tech journey, we people face several challenges. And today I'm going to share my way of handling those challenges, and if any one of you get benefit from my experience, then I'll be super duper happy for that. So let's get started without wasting much time. Okay, so let's get started with the presentation. But before I start the presentation, I want to share something that basically I was not supposed to make this presentation, because I thought, okay, I will just speak my heart out. Why to make a presentation? Then I realized that it's a virtual thing and it may happen that I'm speaking and you are sleeping in your bed. So I just wanted that you be awake and listen to me. So I made this presentation. So, okay, let's get started. So here, like I have pointed out some of the points during my web dev journey, what I have followed. So I'll be explaining one by one. So the first thing I would like to discuss is clarity of thought. So when I'm saying that clarity of thought, what I actually want to mean is, I think this whatever I'm going to say, this talk is going to be more relatable for those who are from maybe tier 3 engineering colleges, and they didn't learn anything from college and they are self studying. And maybe for those people who are not from tech backgrounds, maybe they are from commerce background or science or arts background, and they want to come into technology, or people who are maybe working in marketing or sales and wants to change their domain like me. I think they can relate to my talk more properly, because when people like us decides to prepare for technology, several confusions comes in our mind. Like first confusion comes that what path should we follow, like is it web development or is it data science or something like that. So at the first point I decided that okay, I will go for web development only, and I was very clear with my thoughts. And you know what, when I started my preparation, there were several people who were giving me advice that when you have decided to change your career, I mean domain, like you want to go from marketing to as I said, technology. So why are you choosing web development? Data science has more bright future. But trust me, as I had, clarity of thought, so I was not at all confused, because I believe that if you have taken an educated decision and you are giving your 100% in something, then you are definitely going to shine in that field as well, and your future is going to be bright anywhere, whatever you choose. So that was the first thing I faced. And the second thing which comes in mind is, okay, as we have started, what language should we start with? Is it Java? Is it PHP? Is it Python? Is it JavaScript? What is? What can be the starting point, and what can be the roadmap? So today I'm going to share my roadmap of front end journey, because yeah, today I'm sitting over here as a front end developer. So what I did is I started with JavaScript basics and logic building part. Then I started actually loving it when I started learning JavaScript. It was amazing. And after that, I learned HTML, CSS, and then learned DOM manipulation, and then learned some advanced JavaScript part. And made several projects in JavaScript. And when I'm saying I have made several projects in JavaScript, it's not only related to JavaScript. I made several projects in HTML, CSS as well. So after that, I went for React and then made several projects in React. And after that, I learned Tailwind CSS, Bootstrap, TypeScript, etc. So this is kind of my front end roadmap, which can be beneficial for you as well. But I would again say that everybody has his own path, because it's not necessary that which work for me is going to work for you as well. So my next point is follow your own path. Because why it is so necessary? Because I think here I have mentioned that FOMO, fear of missing out. I don't know whether it happened with you people or not, but it happened several times with several people. That suppose I'm learning JavaScript and someone else is learning TypeScript, and suddenly it feels in mind, okay, maybe I should learn TypeScript also. Suppose I'm learning React and suddenly it feels like, okay, I must learn Angular also. And sometimes comparing with others, and when we like this, we can be the victim of FOMO actually. And for that, we sometimes take some unrealistic targets, and that unrealistic targets obviously will give us failure, and that failure gives us self doubt. And that self doubt is really, really very dangerous. It keeps makes a person frustrated. And I'm very sure that everyone whoever is there is facing some or other issues in their personal life as well. I mean, it may happen that someone have some family issues, someone has some financial issues. Maybe there are several people who are again and again telling you that maybe you are from BCom background, so you cannot be in technology. Maybe you are going through some financial crisis, and your parents are saying, why are you trying in technology? Why don't you join some other stuff? So maybe everybody is going through some or other challenges in life. So I believe already there are so many negativities around, and if this self doubt also includes in it, then that is going to be really dangerous. So how I avoided this, how I handled this, let me share this with you as well. That is, I follow this frog story. So let me share with you people this frog story. So this frog story goes something like this: that two frogs were participating in a race, and they were running, and other frogs were cheering for them. So what happens is, after a certain time, there is a well kind of a thing, and the two frogs fell into it. And as soon as that happened, all the frogs around the well, and they start speaking like, okay, you can't do this, you are going to die, don't try, you are not going to come out of it. And after continuously saying and hearing all this stuff, at first both the frogs were trying to get out of the well. But after a certain amount of time, what happens is, one of the frogs starts believing that he can't do this. Self doubts makes him like more paralyzed, and he decides not to try again, and after sometimes he dies. But the second frog, he was continuously trying in spite of all this happening around. And what happens, he comes out of the well and he becomes successful, and maybe he was dancing like this at that moment. And what happens is, like, I actually follow this frog story. Maybe can anyone guess out there that what can be the reason of this second frogs becoming successful? Maybe you will guess so many reasons. Maybe he was determined. Maybe like he was very sure that he will be able to do this. But trust me, the real reason was that the frog was deaf. He couldn't hear anything. So what happened was, when everyone was saying negative stuff that you can't do this, he was actually thinking that everyone is encouraging him to get out of it. So what I do is, what I follow is that I am actually absolutely deaf to negativity. I am absolutely deaf to negativity. When I'm saying this, I also include my negative thoughts in this negativity. And I always surround myself with positive and productive people. So during my tech journey, I made several friends who are from tech background. I joined several communities where people actually help each other to grow. So it's very important to have that kind of surrounding along with us to be successful in this journey. Otherwise it becomes really lonely and it can be really frustrating sometimes. So yeah, and the next point which I want to again discuss is that, so like as it is mentioned, it's a challenge, not problem. So you may be thinking, what is the difference between a challenge or and a problem? But there is a big difference. You know, there is a saying in Hindi that nazar ko badlo to nazariya badal jate hain. So yeah, there is a huge difference if we decide to change our perspective. So here, as it is written, are you facing problems or are you addressing challenges? So it depends a lot how you are seeing the challenges you are facing. So during my coding journey, it's very normal that every situation when I was trying to learn some new language or something new, every time I felt like, okay, it's so difficult, there are so many overwhelming things happening again and again. But trust me, if we think like it as a video game like thing, that in every time we are facing our challenges, we are leveling up and reaching our goal, then it becomes really really amazing. So why I'm saying this, because actually what happened, that I shared some of my works in LinkedIn, and there's some LinkedIn and Twitter also I have shared, but in LinkedIn I shared something, and after that several people messaged me personally that how could you make this kind of big projects, because I'm unable to do that. I can make small projects, but I can't make big projects like this. So I want to tell everyone that I didn't make those big projects directly. I made several small projects in individual step. And it's not only about project. I have made every single small steps practically. So when it was the time to make a big one, it was not at all a big issue for me. It was very easy for me. So today, of course, today we don't have enough time to show all my works, but I will definitely like to share some of my works which I have been doing when I was learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in my primary days. So I will be sharing that with you. Some of my works, like I made this chase game when I was learning JavaScript. I made this one when I was learning JavaScript. Then Indian page dummy, this page I made when I was learning only HTML, CSS. So there are several stuffs which I made, like which actually helped me to level up myself and made me confident enough that I can move to next level very confidently. So it's very important to see the problems as challenges, and no, it's just like a game. And I believe every lock has its key. So we'll have to just find the key. That's it. There is nothing more than that. And when I'm saying this, I feel that my web dev journey has been a total roller coaster ride, and I think everyone's journey is kind of roller coaster, because there will be ups, there will be downs. I mean, I think it is very important to at the first time decide that there can be some dull days as well. We say that bad hair day, good hair day. So in fact, I have noticed that whenever there is something special happening, then only my it becomes my bad hair day. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. So it's fine to have some bad coding day maybe. So it's absolutely fine to have that. I mean, it happens to me as well, that I'm sitting in front of laptop for 3-4 hours, and I'm just trying to debug something and I'm unable to do that. And then when I take a small break and I'm just chilling around and traveling around, then suddenly it clicks and it gets solved. So it's fine to have some dull days, and it's okay. There is nothing to feel like frustrated or self doubt that it's not my cup of tea or something like that, because it happens with everyone. So I believe in this line that do what you love or love what you do. So I started coding because I loved it. But there are some days when I don't feel like loving it, but as I'm doing it, so I love it. So yeah, that can be really helpful for you as well. And as I have written that trophy is calling you, what I actually mean is, if anyone follows all this, whatever I have done, I mean, as I followed all this, it actually helped me to reach whatever target I have taken. So, what I want to say is that everyone's story is different. I mean, everyone has their own challenges, everyone is having their own life. So we cannot just compare with others. Like, it may happen that someone is taking 1 month to learn something. It may happen that I can take 2 months. It can happen that someone can take 3 months to learn something, and it's absolutely fine, because everybody has their own life, has their own time space, and there is nothing to get worried until and unless you are improving every day. So yeah, that's it. And I would say that it really doesn't matter whether you are going to be first or second or something, because what matters is that you are unique and there is a success trophy written with your name. And if you follow the path with patience and improvement, continuously improving yourself, then you are definitely going to reach that goal. So yeah, it's your story is going to be really unique. Everybody's story is definitely unique. And anybody who are watching this, if you are going through a tough time, then I will say that, trust me, tough time doesn't stay long, but tough people do. And definitely is going to be really, really amazing for all of us. And when I'm saying this, something cracked in my mind, that someone was telling me what to do to crack a job. Of course, it's a different topic altogether. I'm not going in depth of it. But what is my observation? I want to share one thing with you, that I realized that, of course, it is very important to have skills when you are giving job interviews, but it is absolutely important, equally important, to have the ability to communicate to the interviewer that you are confident about your skill. Otherwise it's not going to work. So it's very important to communicate that you know the stuff. So yeah, that's what I felt, what I observed. And the next part, at the end, I'm just going to say that every ending is a new beginning, because whenever I feel that, okay, now I know JavaScript, then I find something and I feel like, okay, I need to know this as well. It happens all the time with React or backend or anything I'm just trying out. So it recently happened that used to feel like that I know CSS a lot, but recently I realized that I don't know CSS art. So I recently started making CSS drawing, CSS art, and I'll be sharing some of my works very soon in LinkedIn. So yeah, this is all from my side. I believe every ending is a new beginning, and whoever listening right now is listening to me, I am sure that we all are going to be very successful in our own time. So, yeah, this is all from my side. Thank you so much, everyone who has given me this opportunity. Tapash, Pritesh, everyone, React Play, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. And I believe people are still awake and listening to me. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
Wonderful presentation, Vanshika. I was able to relate because I also went through the same phase when I started, right? So, you explained everything which a developer goes through mentally, and what are the difficulties one may face. And I hope this was an insightful session for the people who got started with, and this will help them, to not to in that help them to not take the decision of giving up in going forward with tech. Obviously it is difficult, but you if you make it, then you can't you'll see the pros of being in tech also, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I am blown away with the thing that this is your first s- you know
uh, Actually, I want to say something here,
yeah.
that actually it's my first tech talk, but I have been into direct selling industry and I have been into marketing, so I am comfortable in taking conferences. And I'm actually confident about taking conferences of maybe lakhs of people. It's not a big deal for me. But I want to say something over here, and I think it's very important to share. If I have time, 2 minutes of time, can I share?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. No
So
worries.
basically, what happened is, like, I am that kind of a girl who was very shy in childhood. So I was so shy that I stopped learning music so that I don't have to go to stage and perform, because I had so much of stage fear. Facing people was like nightmare for me. So I was very afraid and I stopped learning music, but I used to love it. Then also I stopped only to avoid it. But after certain time when I came into college, I realized that it's important to, have this capability of communicating, because it really doesn't matter. It may happen that you have a lot of knowledge, but if you can't communicate with people, then they will not get to know it. So it's very important to come out of your fear and then uh, do public speaking. And my first day, I still can remember, it was my 7 friends sitting over there, and I was speaking and I was shaking like anything. And I could feel that it was something like a train was moving. I could feel it. I mean, but I said something. I mean, 10 minutes I said, and that was the beginning. So I just want to say, whoever is listening right now, if a person like me could do this, could present, then anyone can present. So I will really encourage all of you to please participate in public speaking, because when you do it, it becomes fun. So yeah, thank you.
Huge motivation, Vanchika. I guess people in the audience will surely sign up for the next sessions of React Pay Live, hopefully.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. All right. I hope you had a amazing time here
Yeah,
speaking up.
definitely, definitely. I really am very thankful to give me this opportunity to have a tech talk. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Cool. Cool, Vanchika. We'll call our next speaker. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So next up we have Praveen. Let me quickly add him on the stage. Hi, Praveen. Now audience will be able to see you. You can speak. Let's check your audio.
Hey Pritesh, am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah, you are audible. Yeah, welcome to React Pay Live. Uh, a lot to learn from you, and audience is waiting for you and your topic. So let's go ahead and you can share your screen, and you can along with that you can introduce yourself, what you do, and what you're going to be speaking here tonight.
Yeah, sure. Um so, as you guys know, I'm Praveen. I work at Wednesday. I am a software engineer, a full stack developer. Yeah, that's pretty much about me. Today, right, I'll be speaking about automating accessibility testing using storybooks. So for those who don't know about accessibility, right? Yeah, it's absolutely fine. We'll be going from basics, and then we'll be covering every aspect of it, so that it becomes really easy. So let's look at what we'll be covering today. What and why of web accessibility? When should you consider accessibility? What and why of Storybook? Why Storybook for web accessibility? How to include accessibility in your component library? What Storybook accessibility add-on doesn't do? Comparing accessibility add-on with Lighthouse for accessibility, and best practices for developers to follow. So, firstly, right, what is web accessibility? For people who don't know about accessibility, right, accessibility means building applications that are accessible for all. So, what do I mean accessible for all? Anyone who's coming to your application, right, irrespective of whether they're blind or with any kind of disability, they must be able to use your application just like how normal users, just like how you and me are able to use it. So, that is what is web accessibility. Now, why accessibility? Usually, right, people, when I ask people if accessibility is really important, the answer that I immediately hear is no, I don't think so, right? Why would I need to build accessible application? Why should I waste time building accessible application when I don't have an audience for it? But let's look at some facts. So if you're going to build accessible application, right, you will be able to like tap into more customers. So according to a recent survey by WHO, about 15% of world population has some kind of a disability. So we'll be able to like build application for a wider audience. And then compliance and legislation. So if there are some countries and some cities where accessibility is no more like a good to have, it's like a norm. You'll have to make sure that your application is accessible. If you don't make your application accessible, then you may end up paying huge fines. And then thirdly, search engine optimization, because a lot of countries and even search engines, right, should promote accessibility. What they're doing is they're making sure that accessible applications are ranking higher. So if you're building accessible application, you also get to like rank higher in the search results. And then promotes usability. It's not only for people who have disability that accessibility will help them. It's even for people like old people and people in rural areas who may still have have some difficulties interacting with the normal content. Even for them, right, accessible application will definitely be useful. Okay, when should you consider accessibility? If you are like an absolute beginner, right, if you don't know when should you consider accessibility, usually accessibility should be considered from the start. Maybe you don't have to like build everything from the start. You don't have to make it completely accessible from the start, because I've had this issues, right, when you are trying to maybe speak to a client, or maybe when you're trying to convince someone to build accessible application, the immediate answer is no, because all that they want is to ship their MVP as soon as possible and then cover the other things later. So what I would suggest is, maybe if you have some tool, right, where you can automate, that is what we're going to look today. We can cover these basic attributes, roles, color contrast, font sizes, and then we can cover complex cases as the product goes. We'll be looking at how to build our first line of defense today. Okay, so we'll be using Storybook. What is Storybook? Storybook is an open source project that helps you build, document, test your components, everything in isolation. It comes with add-ons that will help you do a lot of things. Let's look at an example, right? So this is Storybook. What it helps us do, right? Let's say if I have different components, it helps me host all of these components in a different place, and then you can add different variations of this component. Let's say you have this add project, okay, then this is the default state of add project. This is like the add project when you don't enter a right url. This is like when submit failed, what do you see. Basically you try to mimic all kinds of scenario a component can encounter in its life cycle. So you basically see if there's a button, okay, there are primary button, secondary button. You try to host everything here. So so why this is helpful is, you don't have to like keep your components and the testing of your components, everything together with your application. You can just abstract this out, and then you can do everything here. That is why Storybook is really helpful. In addition to this, right, it also gives you docs. This is, by the way, generated by Storybook on its own. I didn't do anything with the latest version, right? If you just do auto docs, it will just generate this entire thing with you. You can also come play around with your component. I'll just show an example. So this is like the different props, right, that you can pass to your component. So here, currently, right, you can see different components here. Let's say if I decide to maybe I don't want to like test against all the components. I just want to test against like few, right? If I just do this, you'll be seeing now that only one component is there. So you'll be able to test every scenario, like whatever props you want to pass, right? Everything will be able to test here. That's a gist of what Storybook can do. Now, why Storybook? Yeah, we discussed about these things. It helps us to build component isolation, increases developer awareness of existing components. If you document all your components, right, you get to know what are the components that are there, and what are the components that you'll have to actually build, or maybe you can just reuse from the one that is from the one that is already there. Serves as a living style guide and documentation. So this is also very important, right? Let's say you build something in Storybook, uh, and you import it, right? It's gonna be exactly same as how it looked on Storybook. It's not going to change. So everything is going to be the same. So that it helps you build that standard, and also it makes you very easy to like test multiple scenarios, send it over. Your entire dev team can collaborate, look at it, and do a lot of other things. Now, why Storybook for accessibility? There are different things, right? Usually, like if people have built accessible application, the first thing that they do is for their first line of defense, right? They use Lighthouse. But we are looking at a different thing here. So my take on this, right? Let's say if you have different components documented, and also if you're able to tell different variations of the component, and if you're able to also test your components, maybe like let's say if I'm able to interact with my component, let's say if I submitted a form, right? If you're able to like test mock the scenarios and give results as to like how it would behave in case of the API succeeds, how it will behave in case of the API fails. If you're able to test all of these scenarios, right, basically you're mimicking your application that the user will come and use for the most part. So that is what Storybook is able to do. Storybook is able to like give you a platform where you'll able to where you'll be able to like document all your components, different variations of your components. You'll be able to also test your components, the interactivity of your components. You'll also be able to like test accessibility for all these scenarios. That is why this is very useful. So let's just go over it, right? It's simple and easy to integrate. Component level violation, it does violation on component level. It provides great feedback. It also gives you like links, so that you can just go, if you are not aware of some issue, right, you can just go to the link and then know about the issue and then also understand how to fix them. Then flexibility to choose your own rules. Maybe if you don't want to like be compliant to all the rules that is being provided, right, if you just want to choose your own rules and want to build your application based on those standards, right, it also gives you the ability to choose those rules. And the most important part is automation. Just like how you have things in your CI, right? Before any of your developer merges something, you always have your CI that makes sure that anything that is being merged, right, follows the standard. So with Storybook's accessibility, right, we'll be able to like also integrate into your test automation pipeline, so that anyone collaborating and anyone trying to merge, right, will be able to like test the accessibility of it. Even if they didn't test, right, the CI will come to rescue and make sure that everyone follows the required standards. And then, as I told, interaction testing. So it helps you write test to test the accessibility post interaction. Let's say if I interacted on a button, uh, which will make a call to your backend, and then you get something, right, you'll be able to like mock various things and then just mimic the exact behavior as to like how a user will interact with your actual platform. And also it has a color blindness emulator. We'll be looking into it in a bit. So what it does is it tells you how or maybe let's just look at it now. It tells how a user or a person with disability, right, when he comes on your platform, how will it exactly feel for him. So this is like blurred vision. So this is how the component, right, for someone with blurred vision will he'll be able to see it. So it gives you ways at which you'll be able to like just get into the shoes of someone with disabilities and then be exactly viewing the component just like how they will view it. So this helps you build some empathy. Along with building empathy, right, like if you're building accessible applications, is definitely overwhelming. So if you'll have to be motivated, right, to build accessible application, you'll have to know like what is the need for it. So this helps cater that need, and also it gives you like different scenarios, right? Actually, like what is the percentage of users coming with these disabilities? Maybe if you don't want to cover everything at once, you just want to prioritize. You can maybe pick up the first five ones, the top five ones, and then cater to that, and then cover the rest later. That is why this is useful. Now, how to include accessibility in your component library. So these are the different ways that you can include, or maybe these are the different steps that you should make sure to include, so that you have accessibility enabled for your component library. So setting up Storybook, that is the first thing, and then we'll see how to integrate the accessibility add-on, and then we'll also see how to write different stories and what is the importance of writing all possible stories for a component. We'll also test the interaction of it, and also will show how to automate so that we catch regressions in the CI. So going forward, so just for people who don't know about Storybook, right? If you want to like set up Storybook, these are like the three important files. This is where all your main configuration comes. Your build configurations. If you want to like maybe use Webpack or other things, right? You try to like set up all your configurations here. This is to make sure that your documentation, right, for all your components auto enabled. Then these are the add-ons. So I've already installed the accessibility add-on here. So what it does, right, this is what does the magic. So so all that you have to do is you'll just have to install the accessibility add-on and then come here and then add it here. That's all. It's that easy. And then you'll be able to like see this. You'll be able to see accessibility here. For example, let me try to maybe look at a complex scenario. You'll be able to like see what all passed. It'll tell you, okay, it's it's missing these attributes. What are the things that actually passed here? This also helps you like learn, right? Let's say if you were like a absolute beginner and you came and you didn't know what the aria tags is or what is the use of this particular thing, you can just come here and then you can go, and then it tells you like what this exact issue is, why is it important, why should elements must be, what is the issue about, why it matters, rule description, and how to fix it. Even it goes on to tell like how to fix it. So in case if I do this here, right, it'll tell me like why it matters and rule description and exactly like what are the things in case it tells, right? So here it tells you, okay, this text element must have sufficient color context again the background. So you'll also be able to like come and try out certain things to understand why. You'll also be able to like see if it's passing, failing, and a lot of other things. Okay, this is what. So it is that easy, right? If you're able to like document all your components, this automatically gets added on, and then it'll run accessibility test against all your components here. That's the first thing that we wanted to look at. The next thing, right, is also like we didn't we'll also look at the other files here. This is just to make sure that you add the necessary inject the necessary tags to the preview head. Preview is, this is where you try to decorate things. If you want to decorate something, right, on your storybook, these are different configurations. We won't be able to cover everything today, but I'm just giving you a brief so that you guys can go and pick up things from here. And this is a test runner. This will be helpful to actually automate your test. So we looked at how the accessibility add-on is trying to do it on your storybook, right? We want the exact way to happen even in your CI. So what we're trying to do is we're just trying to mimic the exact behavior of the accessibility add-on. So to make it happen, right, what you're trying to do is we're trying to use Axe. Axe is what that helps you test the accessibility. That is what Storybook uses. So what we're trying to do is, this is just a test runner file that Storybook gives you. You'll have to just make sure that you just have to tweak this a little bit to your needs, or maybe add few things or remove few things accordingly. We'll be going over this file. Uh, Nothing complex. It's very simple. So this is like the pre-render, right? Before, what you want to do here is we're trying to inject the Axe. Axe is the one that helps you test the accessibility. So we're telling that before you actually render all your stories, right, I want to like inject Axe so that I can test. And then once I inject, right, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and test the accessibility of all my stories. So I have few rules. Maybe you can give few rules. These are a few configurations that I've set. Then it gives you like a detailed report. And also we are trying to do some snapshot testing. So why is this important? To help you guys understand, right? So accessibility. Let's say someone with color blindness or someone blind, right, came to your application, they'll be viewing your application on a screen reader. So this accessibility tree, right, will define how your application is read on the screen reader. So if you're able to like is nothing but you're trying to be maybe like just build a copy of how it will be read in simple terms. So if you're able to do that, right, what happens is, maybe if someone came and updated it, you'll be able to come here and see what update happened. So it will also be able to like give you insights as to like what changed or what didn't change. So it'll be helpful. That's at the basic level. So we'll also be able to like see if it is matching the snapshot. This is just to make sure your CI is there. So we'll also look at something more important, right? Like enough of coding, enough of showing you on the code, but we'll look at certain things. If you're gonna use Storybook to test accessibility, right, the first thing that I would recommend is you make sure that you write all possible stories for a component. Let's say there is a button, right? If you just wrote this button, let's say there are two different buttons, but you decided to just document one single button instead of two. So what happens here is you see that the accessibility, there's no violation here. Whereas here, right, let's say I do a secondary button with this color. Here it shows me a violation. So that is why, right, it is very important. You'll have to make sure that you document all stories for a component, for a particular component. If you have a button, you don't if you just documented just a single primary button, right, and not the all the variations of the button, then it becomes like really difficult for you to like make sure that you're building or making sure that you're trying to cover all accessibility scenarios. So with this, right, if you're able to like build all components and then their variations, and then document those variations here and run accessibility against them, right? You'll be able to like solve a lot of issues, right? Okay, and also interaction testing. I missed on interaction testing. So interaction testing, let's say I came to this, right? Usually you have this. Let's say you just documented this. We also documented different variations of the component. But what if I want to interact with the component? Let's say here, right? I've written some tests to make sure that I'll interact with the component here. I'm making sure that the submit is failing. I'll show you how I make the submit fail. So this is how I'm writing my interaction testing. I'm trying to use MSW to mock API call. I'm just trying to tell that, hey, when you try to hit this route, right, hit this API, you just try to maybe give a positive response or maybe a failed response. Here it is a submit pass response, but here in case if it fails, right, you'll be able to like come here and then try to see exactly what is happening. So I'm trying to pick up the button, I'm trying to click, I'll be able to do everything. Now why this is important, right? Interaction is very important because your users, right, are also going to come and interact, and when they interact, they're going to see various scenarios. Let's say here, right, in the first scenario, let's say if they didn't add the URL, the entire URL, the required URL format, what's going to happen is you're going to see this. Are we going to test if this thing is also accessible? That is why it is important to like add all kinds of interaction, also test accessibility of all of those things. So again, going again, explaining you, right? So if you're building components, building all possible stories for the components, and also if you're able to like test interactions of the components, right? And most of the scenarios are covered. So if you actually go on, right, to do some manual testing, that time, right, it'll be very easy for you. You don't have to like cover a lot of scenarios. Most of the things are already covered. You just have to cover some scenarios that can be just caught via manual testing. Now, what your accessibility add-on doesn't do, just like what I mentioned, right? Your accessibility add-on, that is your Storybook accessibility add-on, is not a complete replacement for your accessibility testing. It is just a partial replacement. So you still have to like manually test to make sure that your application is completely accessible. So what the accessibility add-on ensures, right, it can catch up to like 57% of your accessibility issues. Now again, this 57%, right, depends on how you structure the things. Let's say if you're not writing all stories, and again this efficiency decreases. If you're not trying to do interaction testing, right, this decreases. So if you just did all that I told, if you're able to like do interaction testing and then test accessibility on interaction, if you're able to like write stories, all possible stories, and also test accessibility on them, right, you'll be able to like get to this point. Now automating will add efficiencies. We'll also look at how automating will add efficiencies, right? Now let's say I'll just give you an example as to, I'm just running this, right? This is how it will run. I saw that there are few violations, and let's say someone got onboarded to your team and he has no clue about accessibility. So by setting up this process, right, in your CI, what happens is you're able to make sure that even someone who didn't consider accessibility while building will be able to see. So this will fail. So they'll immediately know, okay, this thing is failing. Let's say if you were to do the same thing manually, you have to do so much of work. You'll have to go every single time. You'll have to see what if that is succeeding or no. Every time as a developer merged, right, it has to go and check if after whatever he merged, if the accessibility standards are still followed, if everything is accessible as before. So by making sure this, right, you don't have to like do the manual testing again and again, but just run this thing and then it'll do the thing for you. That is why this is important. Now, comparing your accessibility add-on with Lighthouse, we'll also do a short comparison for people who have used Lighthouse and people who have done accessibility testing using Lighthouse, or maybe used it as the first line of defense, right? We'll understand something. Both of them, right? Your accessibility add-on and your Lighthouse accessibility both uses accessibility in the engine to audit. So in terms of the standards that they use, right, it's pretty much the same. But where your Storybook's accessibility add-on takes gives you an extra edges in terms of pinpointing the issues. Your Lighthouse, right, is not trying to go deep, or maybe try to test the interactions. You're not trying to do all of these things. All that it does is whatever's rendered on the screen, right? It'll be able to just give you if the things that is rendered on the screen is accessible or no. That is on the first render. Whereas with Storybook, right, as I showed, you'll be able to like write tests, perform interactions, just like how your user will be able to like perform these interactions. And then with this, right, what happens is it it makes it very easy. And the next thing is it shortens the feedback loop. Let's say if you are building something with Lighthouse, right, it doesn't do component level accessibility audits, whereas it does page level accessibility audits. So if you'll be able to only view things, let's say if you're building a component library, you won't be able to know how your components are behaving immediately. You'll have to go integrate in an actual application, then know, okay, here is where my component is failing in terms of accessibility. You'll have to come back and again bump up the version of your component with the new changes, and then again come and integrate, and then it's a long feedback loop. So this helps you shorten the feedback loop. Now we'll just look at practices for developers to follow to build accessible applications. Start with the component library. If you're starting to build out accessible applications, right, make sure that your components library is accessible. And we also looked at different things that you can do. Write all possible stories for a component, interaction tests, and then text accessibility on them. Try to fix violations as you build your components. Set up accessibility testing in your CI so that anyone who is working on it, right, is ensured that unless the component that they're building is not accessible, they can't merge it. And then also these are some advanced scenarios. Let's say you covered all these scenarios. Maybe you can immediately go ahead and do manual testing and make it 100% accessible, or based on your requirements, right, you can maybe just do the base level, that is like 57% what we discussed, and then rest you can just do it as your project grows. And then on our application level, right, we spoke about component level. On application level, you'll still have to do accessibility testing on application level. uh, that is on a page level. So you may still need some tools like Lighthouse, because Lighthouse does it on a page level. So you may still need it, or even Storybook helps you test things at a page level. If you just put your entire page as a component, right, you'll be able to do it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We learn these things: accessibility and its importance, Storybook and its importance, automating accessibility testing and the ease of doing it using Storybook, how Storybook's accessibility add-on is better than other tools, best practices for developers to follow to build accessible applications. Yeah, guys, thank you.
Thank you so much, Praveen, for such an insightful session on the Storybook. 4 days back only, I came across Storybook, the open source. It is a huge open source tool, right?
Right,
It does a lot of things along with this, right? I was just
right.
exploring around, right? We do have a question from Tapas. I'll just post it here. If you can see, like,
Yes.
can we integrate Storybook as a CI/CD with code?
Right. So I'll just show it quickly, right? Maybe
Yeah, you can.
it'll just make it easy. I didn't want to maybe go over everything because it'll just stretch the session.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
yeah, we should do it for React Play. We had right up, yeah. So I've already have this repository, right? So here I've just integrated it into my CI. So all that you have to do is you just have to install Playwright, and then you'll have to run this yarn test Storybook CI, just like what I'm doing here, right? I just have
Mhm.
to do the same thing here, and then it'll try to audit. I've also done it. I think maybe I'll just show you quickly if that's possible. Uh, as to like how we can do it. Hmm. So I'd actually done it, right. So let's just look at this, right. Hmm. So you'll see here, right, the accessibility testing that is triggering for existing code. So you can integrate it. It's very
Yeah,
easy.
I see. Nice. Nice. This will help a lot, right? It will reduce, as you said, it reduces the accessibility issues by 57% or something, right? So
Right.
that is a huge decrease, because generally when we develop, we don't think of accessibility initially, and then we
Yes.
think of when, you know, ranking and everything comes into the picture. uh, I do have a like couple of questions here.
Hmm.
I can't see any
Yes.
other questions, but I do have a question.
Hmm.
So as you showed, like the dashboard of Storybook, is
Hmm.
it a like, is it a mandatory for, is there any mandatory format in which we have to write our component so that it will detect it and it will show like this issues is there, and you know, in this particular components or something like that?
For the accessibility standards, for the
Yeah,
accessibility issues you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
issues.
right, right. So maybe I'll just share my screen again.
Yeah, you can.
Hmm.
You just tried it.
Mhm. Okay.
I hope you got the question right. Like,
Right, right. I got it.
yeah.
So let's say you have different components, right? For example, you are building your component library from scratch, or maybe you're using some existing component library, maybe Chakra UI, Bootstrap, and the Material UI or anything. But but what we try to do is we won't be able to like use everything just from Material UI, right? If you're building a large project, and if you have like various platforms, right, that these components are integrated, you'll try to build your own component library on top of the Andy or maybe Material UI on the existing component library.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So you have all these components. For accessibility to be detected, right, you can just build your components like the usual way. Like, see, Storybook, I'll just explain it. Storybook, this is your button component.
Yeah.
What happens, right, with button components? Maybe I'll have to also show you how we'll write stories. So let's say, for example, button stories, right? So all
Mm.
that you have to do is you have to import your button component. You'll have to create a template. So this button
Okay.
component is my actual button component that I've declared right here. I've
Okay.
actually declared
Okay.
here. This is the button component. I just import my button component here, and then what I try to do is I just try to create a template for it.
Okay. I see.
And then what I try to do is, based on this template, right, I'll be able to like create various variations for this component. So let's
Hmm.
say you want to have a primary button and a secondary button, right? It's
Yeah.
based on the props that you pass. So primary, if you pass, then it'll render your primary button. If you pass secondary, it'll render your secondary button. Correct. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to Storybook gives this beautiful flexibility where you can go ahead and play around with your arguments that you want to pass. So here, right, for the primary, I'm passing the color scheme as brand. That is what the primary is giving me. All that I have to do is I just have to export this on the Storybook file, and automatically you'll be able to see it on the Storybook dashboard. And then
Uh,
same with secondary also. If you just export it, you'll be able to see it in the Storybook dashboard. Now, at coming back to your question, right? Now, how do I write it? See, there are two ways to write it. Usually, what people make, usually people make this mistake of just trying to document only one thing because they feel that Storybook is a pain. They don't want to keep writing all these things. It's additional work. They feel that like what is the importance of it, right? People who don't understand the importance of it usually don't try to stress a lot about it. But I'll tell you what happens. Let's say, for example, right, if you didn't write the if you didn't write the secondary component, or maybe you also
mhm.
had a tertiary component, you didn't write all of these things, and you just consider the primary one and then you documented it just for the sake of shipping your code faster, right? So what would have happened? So let's come here. In your primary, right, your accessibility, there is no violations. Correct. Whereas in your secondary, there is violation. So what would have happened is when a user on your actual application, whenever he encountered a secondary button, right, this button wouldn't have been accessible. So that is why it is important to write all stories. When I mean to say all stories, every possible scenario that your component will be visible in, right? Let's say your component, you have a button, all possible buttons, you'll have to document it here. So that Storybook will automatically run accessibility test against these things, and it'll tell you what is failing here. Only then it will make sense, only when you're trying only when you integrate it onto your CI/CD as well, right? If you're not trying to cover all the stories, all the scenarios, if you're not trying to do interaction testing, all of these things, right, it is just not as useful as you would expect it to be. That efficiency that I was talking about, right, 57%, that is completely decreased. It's no more like 57%. It'll be like 20, 30%, which is as good as your lightos, right? You wouldn't have to do all these work at all. we are talking about how to improve the efficiency and make the developer job as easy as it could, right? So yeah, I hope it answered your question.
Yeah, yeah. I was just curious, like how Storybook detects like what components they are. So we have to manually document each and every component that okay, you need to detect this or something, right?
No, you just have to write stories. The stories you're writing, but the documentation, right, is like auto-generated. This docs here that you see, where
Uh,
you're playing things, you have the you have your code also. This is
mm-hmm.
auto-generated. You don't have to do anything with Storybook. Storybook
Okay.
with its latest release, right, auto docs true, it will
Mhm.
automatically generate. It will be able to detect, okay, what props you're passing to your component, what you're trying to do, what how your component is documented, right? Like based on the stories that you're writing, it'll automatically try to give this, so that
Mm-hmm.
people will also be able to know. Let's say if a developer new joins your team, and he's not sure about what to do, where to do, what components are there, how to use the components, he can just come here and then maybe look at the code. Okay, if I do this, I'll be able to get this. He can just go ahead and then try to integrate it in his application, so that it makes easy. You can also play with this right here, brand. I can maybe play with different colors. I can just do red, it'll give me red, pink, it'll give me pink. You can also play around with a lot of things.
I
So it
see.
gives you a lot of flexibility. Yeah, it does a lot of things. I've not even scratched the surface. It's definitely worth exploring, and you guys should definitely go ahead from here. Or maybe in the future days, right? We can dig a little more deep into this and look at things at more depth.
Sure thing, Praveen. One last question, like since you have used, I can see like you're super confident about Storybook and the
Hmm.
things around Storybook. So my question is, if you have used this in your organizations or
Hmm.
anywhere else, how did
Hmm.
it made difference? Like I'm talking in perception of before using Storybook, what was the accessibility and how it improved, and what benefits you got after improvement of that particular code base.
Got it. So we have been building accessible applications for the last few months. So initially, right, we are thinking of using Lighthouse. Lighthouse also has this accessibility. If you guys have used Lighthouse, right, you guys will know accessibility. But the problem with it, right, if you are trying to build a completely accessible application, I was like completely, I was leading the efforts here on for accessibility, and instantly I realized that your Lighthouse is just trying to go through your application in its first render. It's not trying to interact with your application. It's not trying to do exactly what user is trying to do. So what's going to happen is just going to detect issues that it can see. Those issues, right? Maybe those are not the only issues that you're going to see, right? If you're building a completely accessible application for a client that we were building, the client wanted the application to be 100% accessible. So you can't just trust your Lighthouse. And also, right, the developer started feeling a lot of there was a lot of overwhelming behavior on the development side, because we'll have to every time go manually test. If you're building a component library, right, you'll build your component, we came back, integrated the component to your application, and then after integrating your component into your application, you'll realize using Lighthouse or other tools that, hey, this is not accessible. So we go again back to your component library, again change it there, bump the version, bring it back in, again do it. This was like a completely thing. So we took some time, and then we were trying to figure out what are the different things. That's when I was thinking maybe I was using Storybook from a very long time, but I was not aware of the accessibility add-on that Storybook provided. And then I was thinking, maybe I was just thinking in my mind, if Storybook can do the accessibility add-on, right, it would be useful. And then accidentally I found that Storybook already has it. And then it made my job like really, like we became like two three times more productive in terms of shipping accessible application. Again, answering to question, right, this will not completely make your application accessible, only 57%, but that number, right, will definitely give a lot of confidence. Otherwise, building accessible application is definitely not the easiest job out there. You'll have to do a lot of things. So if you just do this right, so because we use Storybook, we were able to like cover all the other scenarios in just like few weeks. If we didn't use Storybook, right, I think it would have taken months, because we had to like automate these things on our own, and then the developers also, right, they would have got fed up after a certain point. You also have to keep the developers motivated. So yeah, it helped us in all these aspects.
Understood. So it did a really good job, and reducing your stress on improving the accessibilities, right?
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So that's pretty much it. I guess we don't have any questions. Even I did had a question. I guess you already answered both of them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And like a few words from your end. Like how did you like presenting on React Play Live for the first time?
Nice. I think this was really helpful. So I decided like few weeks back that I want to like start speaking in public. That's when I started like looking at different opportunities. I've been following tapas for a while, and then I found this thing, right. So I just started applying. This is like my second talk. I gave my first on accessibility last week. I think last week at React Bangalore
I
meetup.
see.
Right. So I just gave. So this is my second one. Yeah, this was really exciting. I think this initiative, right, will definitely help a lot of folks who wants to start out, because this is just like open mic, right? No one is judging you, no one is trying to tell you if this is right, wrong. People are trying to learn, people are trying to help you here. So that doesn't happen at other places. Other places you are expected to be a professional. So this is just definitely a opening place for a lot of people. In case if you want to speak, right, just fill out that proposal, and then we'll figure out what to speak later. So
Yes, yes.
that's what I'll tell you.
Awesome. Awesome. I hope you had a good time here speaking. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll end the session now and have a good night ahead. Yeah.
Cool. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.